Hey, how's it going YouTube? Raj here. I hope all of you are doing well. I've got a little haul video to share with you today, but actually before I get into that, this is actually the first video I'm filming since hearing about the really tragic news that Carlos from the channel Brooklyn Fragrance Lover passed away, which came as a real, to me it came as quite a bit of a shock. I didn't actually realize he had some health issues that he was going through. And yeah, I was just absolutely stunned. Really sad news. Somebody who offered so much positivity and fun and was a real character in the game. He had amassed a really big following. So to hear of something like this, especially at somebody of his age, you wouldn't say he's an old guy, is really sad and just makes you realize the fragility of life and puts things into perspective. So I just wanted to pass on my condolences to his family and people that know him. He was quite a popular guy here on YouTube, but amongst the other reviewers as well, especially in the New York area. I know that he often met with a lot of people, collaborated with a lot of people, and to see the outpouring of emotion on social media, on Instagram, and a little bit on here on YouTube is really testament to the type of person that he was. And it's really sad news, but I thought I couldn't film my next video without mentioning and sort of paying my respects. So rest in peace, Carlos. Okay, so as I said, I've got a haul video. I've basically been picking up some vintage mini fragrances. Some of you will have seen me feature some on one of my more recent videos, and I've also set up a channel on my page called the Old School Fragrance Series. So what I'll do, I'll leave a link down below to a couple of playlists where you can look back at prior hauls that I've done and also other videos in that Old School Fragrance Series. There are 8 fragrances here to talk about. Let's get into it with the first one from Balenciaga. This is Balenciaga Pour Homme. I had recently mentioned this on my channel because Rich Mitch had sent me some samples and this was one of them. I decided to pick up a little miniature. So yeah, it's quite cool. I quite like these little minis. I would zoom in on the camera and try and focus, but I'm using my phone while I don't have my normal equipment with me. So I'm just gonna show you, hopefully you'll get an idea of what it looks like. It's a really cool bottle. And I quite like minis like this because while it's not the full size, a lot of these fragrances are really hard to find or very expensive, the ones that you see online. At least it's better than having like a plastic atomizer, right? You get a feel for what the bottle is all about and the design. And this is a really beautiful fragrance. I've got some of the details in front of me. Came out in 1990. Gerard Anthony is the perfumer. A fragrance that when I first gave my thoughts on this one, I said it was kind of ahead of its time in the sense that it's, for me, very much a Arabian, musky, spicy, ambery style fragrance, which kind of in the 90s for, shall we say, mainstream releases was probably out of the blue. I would have loved to have been a fragrance enthusiast, or even just old enough. I mean, I was like 3 years old in 1990 to have been around when this fragrance had been released, and just to see the reaction that it had got. This is a great fragrance. I'm really loving this one. I've also got a little bit left from that sample that Rich sent me. I also managed to pick up a little decant from somebody on eBay, so I've got about maybe 10 to 15 ml of this juice. So yeah, really quality stuff. So let's go on to the next fragrance, also from Balenciaga. And this one is a Cristobal Pour Homme. So this is the bottle for Cristobal Pour Homme. Cristobal is the name of the designer, and like Cristobal Balenciaga. And this fragrance released in 2000. So what's that? 10 years? Was it 1990? Yeah, and then 10 years between Balenciaga Pour Homme and Cristobal Pour Homme. Again, produced by Gerard Anthony. When I first tried this one, so I had never tried this fragrance before. I got La Malle vibes instantly. And I was like, okay, it's not exactly like Jean-Paul Gaultier's La Malle, but there are some similarities here in terms of, a little bit in terms of notes, but also in just generally the style. I found this one to be more had a lot of sort of a baby powder accord, which some people really don't like. I actually do like that, but this one is quite a lot in the opening. So a little bit too much, but still enjoyable. It does settle into a kind of creamy, floral, sweet kind of fragrance to me. I'm still testing these fragrances, guys. I'm not saying that I know them inside out. And actually, when I went onto Fragrantica, I've got it in front of me now, I was just comparing the notes. And this one has lavender, and it's got that Artemisia note, which Lamal also has. It's got vanilla in there as well. So there are some similarities, I would say. If you guys think that, also let me know, drop a comment down below. But yeah, really beautiful kind of bottle. I really like delving into the past, delving into fragrances that really you're not gonna go into a shop unless it's a very specific shop that sells vintage fragrances. I've never actually been into a shop like that before, but yeah, hard to find stuff, and I think this is part of the appeal of these vintage fragrances. People love searching them out on eBay. I don't mind doing that as well. I just don't want to be spending like crazy money on a fragrance, but I think these minis really bridge the gap for me. Gucci Nobile. This fragrance came out in 1988, and this is a real beauty of a fragrance. It's an aromatic fougere. I really love this style of fragrance, this genre. It just feels very traditionally masculine. It feels very safe, but not in a boring kind of way. Like, I know I'm just gonna smell great. If you want something that is very pleasing and very, almost sometimes I would say relaxing in some ways, this type of genre, this aromatic fougere genre, for me is not flashy. It is almost at times understated, which I actually really appreciate. So this is the little bottle here. On the back of it, it says Gucci registered trademarks Scanon S.A, which is some sort of reference to the company, I suppose. With all of these fragrances, by the way, guys, obviously authenticity is really important. Trying to trace back the batch and the year of production, it's like a nice to know. I mean, I could find out, I suppose. There are reference numbers here, random numbers that could be batch codes, and yeah, I could go online and try and figure out when these are from. I could ask the seller. I could go onto blogs like Raiders of the Lost Scent to try and figure out the decade. But I think the most important thing for me is the juice authentic? Does it smell like a good fragrance? Does it smell like it's gone off? Hopefully not, because I'm trying to figure out or get experience of fragrances that are hard to find. You can't just walk into a shop and buy, and that's what appeals to me about these miniatures. So trying to place the exact year is not something that I'm too like overly fussed with. But anyway, going off on a bit of a tangent there, Gucci Nobile is very much a classic kind of mossy green, nice herbally citrus notes and herbal, actual sort of herbs and lavender notes in there, very woody, spicy, you know, that bergamot, petitgrain kind of feel. Almost like what's the word? I'm trying to figure out what the right word is. Almost like tree moss, like oak moss, you know, that mossy, green, wet woodlands kind of feel is kind of how I would say. You know, I'm not like an expert in these fragrances. I still need to wear them properly, but that's very much what came to mind. So classy, really classy stuff. As I said, if I had my proper camera, I would do a little zooming in, but yeah, good stuff. Gucci Nobile. If you've tried it, let me know. If you have a full-size bottle, hang on to it, that's for sure. These are hard to come by. Next up is a fragrance that I did mention on the last video when Rich sent me a sample of this, Francesco Smalto Pour Homme. What a cool box, first of all. I mean, this kind of like marble, I guess it's marble, or I don't know, I'm not sure, like marble, granite, what the difference is. I'm not an expert in all those stones and stuff, but I really like this kind of style. It does feel very vintage in terms of appearance, and so it opens up like so. You get this little sort of cardboard thing, and then here's the bottle. What does it say on here? Some of you might be interested with like what it says on here. Parlux.sa in Paris, also New York, made in France. Yeah, also one thing that I really like on these old school fragrances is that the note breakdown, or not the note breakdown, the ingredients list is so like simple: alcohol, fragrance, and also demineralized water, and maybe some coloring also. It's really like straightforward as to what it is. Nowadays you look at the thing and the ingredients list, and it's like a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, a little cool bottle here. I really like this fragrance. I really enjoyed it. This was the sample of all the samples that Rich sent me. This was the one that I just went through it so quickly. I just love this style of fragrance. Let's see what the not the note breakdown, but when it came out. 1987, so yeah, my year when I was born. Francesco, Smalto, aromatic fougere again. You know, I guess you could have too many of these fragrances, this style. Really, you don't really need that many if you want a nice variety in your fragrance wardrobe. But if you're a big fan of this style of fragrance, I'm sure there's some of you guys who just can't get enough of this style. Yeah, I like it. I could just repeat myself and say the same thing with Gucci Nobile, herbal, green, smoky, slightly smoky green. They all kind of like, they don't smell the same, but they're all from the same family, right? So I kind of do feel like once you've tried a handful, you'll get what a classic aromatic fougere smells like. But there may be other fragrances out there that really surprised me. And look, I'm not an expert in this category or this genre of fragrances, but it's always good to build your knowledge of, you know, what has came out in the past, because a lot of stuff that came out in the past often shapes what comes out in the present. Also, conversely, there's a lot of things that came out in the past that are almost completely discontinued, not just the fragrance, but that style of fragrance, and you won't get anything that's released like that today. So yeah, let's move on to the next fragrance. Another one that came out in 1987, this is Salvador Dali. I guess it's just called Pour Homme. I'm not really sure if that is like a proper name. It just says on the bottle, Eau de Toilette Intense Pour Homme. You've got the sort of, I guess that would be his signature, Salvador Dali, who was a surrealist painter. And if you want to talk about surreal, not just his paintings, but the bottles as well. I mean, that is so cool. You've got these lips that are the same on both sides. I need to find out actually whether this was inspired by a particular artwork or a particular painting from Dali. I remember in school, this is going back a long time, like this was, I don't know, when I was 11 or 12, and I remember you have art classes, and that's when I first heard about Dali, and his work just really grabbed my attention. Just the weirdness of it all was really interesting. I think there is also a Dali museum somewhere in Spain that I wouldn't mind going to. Anyway, this fragrance was released or created by Thierry Vasser, who is now the head perfumer at Guerlain, and more than a passing resemblance to Guerlain's Heritage, for sure, with this one. Although with this one, I feel like you get a lot more patchouli, like heavy patchouli, like literally as if this bottle had been, you've like dug it up from the ground, and it's just rained, and you've got this wonderful, really earthy, very soil-like, slightly smoky patchouli note in there, which is more aggressive and more earthy, I would say, than Heritage. And it's a really interesting one. So it says here on Fragrantica, Oriental Fougere, there's anise and clary sage, basil, tarragon, geranium, heliotrope, oak moss, patchouli, sandalwood, vetiver, amber. Quite a bold fragrance, really does hang on to the skin. Not going to be for everyone in terms of their taste, probably not for me in terms of my taste. It's a little bit aggressive at times, but it's cool to try new things and get your nose on something that you normally wouldn't buy. Now and again, it's always good to shock the system and just go out of your comfort zone. So it's cool. I'm really happy with that one actually. It's an interesting fragrance in terms of the bottle design, the olfactory sort of impression it left on me, the fact that it was made by Thierry Vasser, and also the fact that it came out in the year I was born, 1987. It's pretty cool to me. Next up is a fragrance that I had never heard of. This is from Valentino, who is obviously a very well-known Italian designer brand. This one is called Vendetta Pour Homme. I mean, first of all, the name Vendetta is kind of hilarious actually. There's nothing particularly menacing about this fragrance. I love the bottle design here, or the box. Kind of something, I don't know, it's like a mixture between a tiger and a cheetah print. Maybe, that's my interpretation of this one. Made in Italy, distributed by Parfum International in New York. Yeah, looks like somebody had bought this because there's a little price sticker. It'd be interesting to know where this fragrance was bought from, or where it originates from. I bought it from a seller here in the UK, but who knows where it originally started its life. Came out in 1991. This is the bottle. Pretty cool bottle actually. I quite like this design here. Yeah, I don't know. Is this supposed to? What is this supposed to be? Look like some sort of whiskey flask? Something about this cap that kind of makes me feel like, I don't know, really know what I'm getting at, to be honest. But yeah, anyway, it's a cool design. So Vendetta pour Homme, 1991 release. Edouard Flechier actually is the perfumer. I first heard about this guy because he made a fragrance for Frederic Malle in the year of 2000 called Lise Mediterranee, which is actually one of my mum's favorite fragrances, and that's how I first heard of the name. Actually, it's funny because I thought that, because Frederic Malle puts his names on the bottle, I thought the name of the brand was Edouard Flechier. Then later on I realized, oh, it's actually called Frederic Malle. My dad bought that fragrance for my mum pretty soon after it got released, and that was actually my first experience with niche fragrances. This one was a real nice surprise for me. I mean, I'd never tried any of these fragrances actually before, so I had no idea what I was getting into. But this one, because it just wasn't on my radar, was really nice to smell. Notes in the top: basil, bergamot, coriander. I won't go through all of them. Middle notes, bit of spices in there: cinnamon, vetiver, cedar. Base notes of benzoin, leather, oak moss, amber, tonka bean. It's, for me, a very well-rounded fragrance. Very ambery and coniferous at the same time is what I would say. It has it's kind of almost like a floral powdery element to it. It is something that was really long lasting on my skin. And just smelling it now from the cap, there's almost like from the bottle, there's almost a slightly boozy element to this fragrance as well. I really liked it. It really jumped off my skin. So a great performing fragrance. You know, as I said, I don't know when this particular one came out or when it was discontinued, but it's good to know that it's still performing. Must have been stored well, so that's always a bonus. Next, from Cartier, you can actually still buy this fragrance. I don't know whether the current version in the store is anywhere near the original. This is from Cartier. This is Santos de Cartier. Eau de toilette, it says here, and it also says cologne for men. So the little 4 ml. I quite like the bottle design here. Obviously, a lot of Cartier fragrances are inspired by their watches, and this is a really beautiful classic style packaging here. The current version I don't believe is like this at all. I think it's just like a black bottle from what I've seen online. But you know what, guys, have a look around. You might see online, you might see an older version in terms of the packaging. Released in 1981. This was one that I had never smelled Santos, the current version actually. So I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And I'm still trying to figure out this one, to be honest. It has I really find it difficult to describe this one. So it says it's an Oriental woody. There's a lot of different, almost, what's the word? Contrasting, or like, there's a whole bunch of stuff in here in terms of note breakdown. And I thought, is this one going to be all over the place? But actually it comes together really nicely. Lavender, juniper berries, basil, bergamot. There's pepper and nutmeg and vetiver and geranium, clary sage, cloves, sandalwood, amber, coconut, patchouli. I had no idea what to expect. But on my skin, it's like quite a strong herbal medicinal feel. There is a warming, spicy nutmeg that really comes through actually. The nutmeg on my skin is quite noticeable actually. That's the kind of note the one that jumps out on my skin the most. Very classy stuff. And this coconut note, I wouldn't say I immediately pick up on coconut, but there is this, there is this kind of like, you know, like shea butter or body lotion, that kind of thing, cocoa buttery kind of feel, which may be a mixture of the amber and the coconut and the vanilla coming all together, but that's what I get on my skin. Still going through this juice. Worn it a couple of times, really keen to see how it develops on my skin. Yeah, it's always great to smell the older version of this one. Again, I don't know exactly when this came out. I've got some reference numbers on the back, made in France. I might have to do a little search online. There are websites, by the way, if you don't know, where you can type in a batch code or type in something and it will tell you when the fragrance was released, but sometimes you won't have a batch code on these things, so yeah, it's a bit of a lottery, but yeah, really good fragrance. Again, let me know if you tried it. And the final fragrance is from Givenchy. This one is Xeryus, and you can, I think, still get this one, except you won't find it in this version. They have this range called the Les Parfums Mythiques. I don't know if you can get these in store, but I have seen bottles like the newer version of this one online. I don't know what it smells like, whether it's comparable to this one. Again, I'm probably not the best resource when it comes to vintage fragrances compared to like new, what they're like at the moment, but I'll be keen to get my nose on this newer version. Yeah, Xeryus came out in 1986, an aromatic fougere, but actually I feel like it's much more than an aromatic fougere. I find it much more spicier and almost bordering on leathery on my skin. It's quite actually a dark fragrance on my skin. Well, it's not dark in the sense that it's like a dark version of an aromatic fougere, basically. So yeah, 1986, lavender and lemon, violet, nutmeg flower, mandarin, lily of the valley. There's loads of stuff in here. Ylang ylang, cypress, coriander, carnation, balsam fir, leather, vetiver, amber, cedar. Yeah, bunch of fragrances in here. I really like this bottle design. I like it quite a lot, actually. I've seen pictures online of this bottle, like the full-size bottle, and I've seen people on YouTube with the full-size bottle. It looks immense to me. I really love the dark, just the kind of dark bluish tones here. Some sort of link in here maybe to, I think it was Dan from Mr. Smelly's channel, who was talking about what is it, in Greece, like the Parthenon or something like that. Some sort of inspiration from Greek buildings. I'm not really too sure. If you guys know, I need to do a lot more reading, to be fair, on these fragrances, but I just wanted to get them all in, see what they smelled like, and then maybe dig into the history. Very beautiful fragrance. Still wearing it. I've worn it a couple of times. I'm not really going to give my impression on it just yet because I don't really have one. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Have you tried these ones? Do you like any of them? What are some of the vintage fragrances that you're getting into or enjoying recently or have bought recently? And yeah, thanks a lot for checking me out. I'll see you on the next video. Take care. Bye.